In order, start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reading of the call.
Dear Supervisor, please be advised that the Trempealeau County Board of Supervisors will meet at 7 p.m. on June 16th, 2025, in the county boardroom. All county board members' claims are due in the county clerk's office by noon on June 6th, 2025, so they can be approved for audit committee approval. Sincerely, Mary Martin, County Clerk.
Roll call.
Bridget Turner. Here. Stacy Klein. Richard Seisha.
Here.
Lori Severson.
Here.
Andy Todd.
Here.
Richard Anderson.
Here.
Kevin Adams.
Here.
Dick Miller.
Here.
Kevin Whalen.
Here.
John Austin.
Here.
Don Waldera. Robert Becker. Robert Becker.
Here.
Renee Lyon.
Here.
Kellen Nelson.
Here.
David Larson.
Here.
Jeannie Nutter.
Here.
Ron Johnson.
Here.
16 present.
Make sure that, Okay. Certified the open meeting law requirements have been met with notification and posting. We have a 14-item agenda looking for approval.
Move to approve. I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The only thing I know now that's under appearances, item A, they're not going to be here till next month. That's the only change. Approval of the minutes from May 2025. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. So we're down to appearances. Item B, Human Services Annual Report from Jay Hine.
So I will hand out, because I know we handed these out at the Health and Human Services Board, so I will give each person who did not get one there a copy. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
You didn't know you were going to be first on the agenda.
Well, that,
I got it. I didn't. I know. There's two.
He tricks you. I take it you're on the committee, so you already have yours. Just a guess. Holler if you need more space. We are pretty stealing your space before you got here.
Oh, that's the way it is.
If you would like to, we can, I get electric fence on my
Sister and
side.
I used to do that.
Oh,
you know,
did ya?
we would pick on each other, you know.
Don't touch me.
Through everything line by line.
I remember that, but it was brothers and there was no picking, it was fighting.
okay, so I know there's a long agenda, so I will try to be brief. I'll expect tips later. No.
Don't smoke.
Right. Okay, so I wanted to summarize the Human Services Annual Report for 2024. And until December, obviously, we were still, the Health Department and Human Services were still separate. So we did the annual reports that way as well. So that's why you've got a copy of each of them. Both of those were presented to the Health and Human Services Board. So here's what I want you to know. Here's what I want you to know about Human Services, and then some key information and highlights from 2024. First of all, so a lot of you know a lot of these things, but for those of you who don't, we've got a lot of specific statutory responsibilities in our department, in both Health and Human Services. And so if you ever want some light bedtime reading, Susan and I can probably provide you all those statutes. They can prop up your pillow. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about too a little bit is just the funding piece. And we've got a lot of complex funding streams in our department, as a lot of you probably know, but that's one of the things that we have to report on and make sure that we are complying with all of the state and federal requirements there as well. So, and the ironic thing is that many of our mandated services, we get less funding in some cases than many of our voluntary services, which would seem to be odd, but at the same time, the state is probably wanting the counties to kick in some of the match and have some skin in the game as well. So I guess there's a lot of different ways to look at that, but The voluntary services have a lot of robust funding, and because of that, we try to work in positions that we need in our department for workload gaps into some of that funding as well, completely, appropriately and everything. So we're doing a lot more these days with less money than we had in the past, so we have to be creative. But the other piece that I wanted you to take away from this is roughly 20% of the Health and Human Services budget, or the Human Services budget, was from levy. So 80% comes from other sources. So it's state and federal funding, it's grants, it's all those kinds of things. And the last thing that I kind of wanted you to know about our department as a whole is that we've been focusing probably for the last year and a half, I would say, on a positive work culture. Because people said that we really needed to work on that. And so we've been trying to address that. A couple of different things we've done recently that have happened recently, kind of to that point, is we had a staff appreciation breakfast on May 15th, where our leadership team in the department sponsored that, so that came out of our pockets. And it was a time for everybody to kind of get together a little bit and have some team building and have a good breakfast that we had catered in for them. So we thought that was important. The other piece that I'm proud of is whenever we have folks internally who we're able to promote into positions that are open, that's what we try to do. We had recently one worker position who was promoted to a lead position, and then one lead who was promoted to a supervisor as well. So I think to me, that's success, whether it's for culture, but also for building our people internally. So I think that's pretty cool. Moving into the key information and highlights, we've got, as I said, we've got 2 separate reports this year. Next year, it's going to be one big report, and it'll feel less clunky and it'll flow together. So going into the programmatic areas, and I'm not reading through the whole thing, obviously. I just want to hit on some highlights and some things that we want you to know. In the child welfare and child protective services area, we've had some staffing challenges, obviously, and that kind of comes and goes, and now I shouldn't even say we're almost fully staffed. We've got a couple of positions open yet, but, and so that's really important because the average child welfare tenure for staff in the state of Wisconsin is 2 years. So if we can get ahead of that, we're doing well. That department also has, it's hard to measure success when you talk about child protective services and child welfare. And so they're more subjective, and are we addressing the unsafe environments for kids? Are we giving families the tools and resources that they're gonna use? And then are we reuniting families when appropriate if the kids have been removed? So, and that's always our last resort. That's not, I think a lot of people have a misconception about that as well, so. We've also done a youth justice training on assessments for risk of reoffending for youth, and that helps with our recommendations to the DA and also for our interventions as well. So, moving into the behavioral health arena, our adult protective services worker and supervisor in that realm, we've seen an increase in cases this year over last year. And we've also provided more education to places like hospitals and banks to be able to recognize and understand what their responsibilities are and what they can do. So and I think Susan's been working with Sandy to make sure that we're sharing the right information with the different community partners. So we've also got a good mental health collaboration group going on with Jamie Kurth once a month on Tuesdays. And that's a really robust group that's got a lot of good resources for folks. In our recovery court in '24, we had 4 graduations from recovery court, which some years we only have 1 or 2. We happened to have 4 last year. So that's success, and now it's up to the people who have completed the program, and they get to take the reins from there. So. The last thing I wanted to say about behavioral health is we have also used the Trempealeau County Healthcare Center more this year for folks with mental health issues. And last year, or in '23, I should say, we had only referred 2 folks for a total of 160 days, and it's counted by days because it's a daily rate. This year, or in '24, I should say, we referred 5 people for 439 days, and so that's the Institute for Mental Disease. That's operated out at the healthcare center, and it's for folks maybe who need that step down level of support, and so it's been an important resource for us, I guess I would say. All right, so moving into the economic support area, which is the Western Region for Economic Assistance, and we are in an 8-county consortium with 7 other counties. And so it's already, focusing on efficiencies and economies of scale that way. But our consortium has exceeded the statewide average for all of the benchmarks. They do pretty much every year. And so they're really kind of like a well-oiled machine. The one thing that really hit them hard last year was the Medicaid unwinding. So that's where the pandemic put a hold on Medicaid eligibility for a lot of folks. And so there was no review of eligibility. People maintained that. And as of June 30th last year, that ended. And we had to make sure that we were going back to regular standards for eligibility. And that, working through all those cases for people who lost eligibility because they would have lost it earlier, but everybody kind of happened at once. And that was challenging for our staff. So just working through that was difficult. Let's see, public health, we talked about that a little bit already. We have the merger, and we're still working on our integration with processes. Susan and I just talked a little bit today about ordinances and revising those, and we've got HIPAA policies and all kinds of fun stuff that we need to make sure that we're syncing up and revising. So we also hired our new health officer, Nani Ruiz, and she's doing excellent work. So I shouldn't even say that it's going so well out loud because I just wait for the other shoe to drop. But and then environmental health, our environmental health folks. So that's Eddie and Kai. They're going out and inspecting restaurants and bars and a lot of places like that because that was an area that we also fell behind during the pandemic because I think we had vacancies at the time for a while. And so I think Jen Como was the only one who was even able to do any of those. And you couldn't get into a lot of places at that time too. So we're finally getting to the point where I don't even want to say that we're caught up, but we're getting close. So, and they're the folks who also go out to like the events like Ashley for the Arts and things like that who make sure that, and they get help, who make sure that folks are in compliance. Let's see. Last thing in public health I just wanted to touch on is that we also do a community health assessment countywide, and then that drives our community health improvement plan. So how do we as a department address health issues and interventions in our county for folks? 2 more units. One is the Children with Special Needs unit, and we have eliminated our wait list for kids with disabilities. We've had to move around some staffing and be a little bit creative with that, but we have eliminated that wait list. We actually, DHS was looking at did put us on a corrective action plan almost after we had addressed all of our issues. And so when we came to the table with them, they said, well, you've pretty much done everything we needed you to do. So we'll just meet for the rest of the year to make sure that everything's on track. So it's nice to be ahead of the game. The other thing that we're working on in that unit is working on eliminating the CCS wait list, and that's the program for adults and children with mental health issues and support needs. And so that's, we should be there, I'm hoping by the end of the year, or maybe beginning of next year. So we're trying to get back to where folks who need services are getting it right away. It can be challenging with staffing shortages and just not enough, workload capacity, so. But we are actively working on that. The last section I wanted to talk about is the ADRC, and they probably have the easiest way of getting the word out with everything that they're doing, so I'm not gonna cover a lot of those pieces, but I do wanna say they're one of our units that is probably doing the most with the least in a lot of cases from what they're required to do. And so that has been challenging for them, but they've moved back across the road to I say they're back with the family now. So we've had an increase in referrals over time with them. We used to have information and assistance workers are the ones who review eligibility and they enroll people in programs and things like that. And so they're the ones, we used to have 5 of them, I believe it was maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, I'm not exactly sure when. We're down to 3 now because of funding. Obviously the funding is the issue everywhere. And we've got more referrals now than we did when we had 5. So we're supporting them as well as we can, but they got a lot of work. So we also lost, last year when we lost our dementia care specialist to La Crosse, the state said in its infinite wisdom, that we were going to lose half of that funding because it had been supplemental funding to allow us to have a full-time position. And so now we had to hire a half-time position instead, which we were Melissa Youngbauer and I talked a lot about that, and we were fortunate enough to find somebody who's really good at that and is also working out at the healthcare center. So we're kind of making it work, and Tricia's really good, so. The last thing is, with the ADRC, and I always make a plug for volunteers, last year we had over 60 volunteers in the ADRC. And if you think about that, our department isn't much bigger than that. Our whole department isn't much bigger than that. And so that's Melissa Youngbauer and Sammy Becker in the ADRC, basically managing almost a full workload, of the same size as the rest of our department. And obviously they're not full-time, but I mean, it's all that coordination and everything. So kudos to them. They provided, the 60 volunteers provided over 4,000 hours of service, which is pretty impressive. So that's like 2 full-time people. So, and it's done by 60 people, so think of the coordination. So, 2 things I wanted to leave you with are, number 1, please, and I know you have already, but continued advocacy for funding for those services that were mandated, so that we don't have to keep coming back and saying, costs have gone up, state funding is here, we got to make this work somehow, and so I don't want to ask you for more levy. So that's why we're trying to be very creative and stretch the dollars as much as we can, but continued advocacy with the legislature for that funding would be helpful. And then the last thing is former Governor Martin Schreiber, for those of you who haven't seen this yet, he's going to be speaking this Wednesday in Whitehall at the school auditorium. And his wife passed away in 2022, I believe it was. She had Alzheimer's, and so he talks about his whole journey. I saw him speak like 10, 11 years ago, so that's why I'm pretty fired up that he's coming. But he talks about his whole journey and his family's journey, and I think he has 4 kids. And their responses to it and how they went through it, and oh my gosh, what are the resources? And he said his kids ranged in reaction from, I don't want to see mom, I want to remember her the way she was, to I'm going to be there every day to see mom, and so it's just really interesting to kind of hear his journey, and he is very candid. He will answer any questions you put out there for him, so it's pretty cool to see that. So that is what I got. Any questions at all for me?
Remind me what time he's speaking tomorrow, or what time
I
that
actually
event is?
brought some flyers that I'll.
Perfect.
Here in-
Oh, is it in the group? Okay.
The fair is from 11 to 12:45, senior lunch 11:30 to 12:30, and then his presentation starts at 1, and he's going to be talking, it comes from his book that he wrote
Yeah,
about his wife,
yeah.
Elaine.
Yes, it's called My 2 Elaines. Yeah, I've got some flyers right here. I'll put them on the front
So
here.
there's a lot going into it besides just talking.
Oh, yes.
Food and a fair.
Oh, there's going to be a lunch, right, and vendor fair and that kind of stuff.
Is doing food, right?
I believe so, yeah. Mhm. So, pretty cool. That's what I wanted to leave you with. So if there's any other questions for
We
me?
had to find out what Melissa knows,
That's right, yeah.
because they got it.
Yeah, and if you just want to go to the presentation, I believe that's 1 to 3. So that's, it's pretty good. It's pretty powerful. So, all right. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. I did have one question.
Yeah.
I read the other day that their funding is being cut, especially for Department of Health.
Yeah, we're looking, actually Becky and I were just talking about that today, and Nani and I have talked about it too. We want to see exactly what it means for us,
Yeah.
and what the dollars mean and that kind of thing. So before we can really develop much of a plan for it. But yeah, as far as Medicaid funding, we haven't seen much of an impact at all at this point. Again, we're waiting kind of for the specifics of what the government's going to say, of what the feds are going to say. So,
Okay.
Senate's hands, like,
so yep.
Okay, Highway Department, annual report. Neil?
So I guess part of this is, I've been 2 years now and learning and growing into the highway, and part of it I felt like is I wanted to be more transparent in the full county board understanding, or starting to learn more of the understanding about how we operate as a whole, because there's a lot of wheels turning in the highway department. So I didn't want to bore you with reading just specifically line for line out of the book. We dropped it in your guys' packet, so if there's any other questions, maybe afterwards, or if you guys find something in the future, just shoot us an email or call over to the office, and we got some books over there. We can pop it up and answer questions. So I gave a little slide presentation here for the Highway Department. I think this is on here. Okay. Our mission, so our vision of what we want is Trempealeau County Highway Department aims to provide the safest transportation possible, fueled by a highly trained team dedicated to providing excellent public safety. Our purpose, we commit to build and maintain a quality system for future generations. And we are valuing honesty, integrity, respect, accountability, dedication, and pride in our workmanship. So Trempealeau County Highway Department, we are a complex operation, diversified workload, it's multifaceted with skilled employees, working within cost pools to recover our expenses. We work throughout the county to keep our staff and equipment moving. Imagine us as a private company or a third-party vendor, working within the confines of government requirements, and essentially we are, and as we transition through this year, we're more of a true enterprise fund. Our staff is 52 employees. There's 6 of us that are the administrative side, and then the remainder are all in the field of what we do. Routine maintenance, ditch clearing, crack sealing, tree trimming, shoulder maintenances, etc. The winter maintenance, plowing, sanding, brine, drifting. We've been fortunate for 2 years not to have much of that. We have a full road construction crew, the full paving operation, the bituminous operations. We have our own hot mix plant. We do surface improvements. We have our own line striping operation. That's Tanner's crew. Them guys, we paint for the state all the way to Hudson, pretty much half of our northwest region. The sign improvements and repair, we have our own sign department. Administrative support would be the 6 of us in the admin side, and oversight of multiple projects at a time, purchasing and maintaining our equipment and facilities, and our financial analysis, which is what the big book is. We perform work for our customers. That's the state of Wisconsin, the numbered highways, routine and winter maintenance and special projects. Trempealeau County is ourselves, or you guys, and that's our lettered highways. That's the routine maintenance, special projects, production of projects such as sand and salt, hot mix asphalts, herbicides, administrative support, budgeting, estimating, billing, build and maintain our own equipment. Other county departments such as townships, municipalities, mostly that is summer maintenance and projects that are, and they help keep our budget and our equipment moving and in check. Trumbull County Highway Department operates as an enterprise fund with 2 functions. Operations, so with inside defense, the functions that support the work we do for others. Buildings and grounds, we maintain our own facilities. Fuel handling, bituminous operations, and that's funded by the work we perform. We have administrative rates, material sales, such as asphalt, patch materials, sand and salts to townships. We cost pool a fringe benefit, small tools rate, and equipment use. And then this supports through the transportation fund side, the outside defense. This is the work that we perform on our county routine winter and summer maintenances and our road projects. This is funded by tax levies, GTAs, other revenues, and for our construction side mostly and lately bond issuance. We also work for Wisconsin DOT, which is our state maintenance agreement, and we work for the towns, cities, and villages within ourselves. Let's see here. I think I might have skipped one. Numbers on it. 6. Okay, operations, I guess I went through that. So-
You did that one.
Yep. Am I missing a page here? Yeah, don't want to hear it again. Maybe it's a flip. Okay. There we go. The operations side, I don't know, there's people that may be new, so I thought we would just include our locations. We have our main facility in Whitehall, which supports our staff of our administrative. Mechanics are there, our trucks, our main shop, and then the rest of the staff. We have our Strum facility, which has staff. They do some smaller repairs of their own shop part trucks. Same with Arcadia facility, Osseo, Gillsville. Those are our outlining or satellite shops. Transportation service, we have 296 county road miles. So for winter, that's supported by tax levy, bond issuance, or general transportation, and they have wintertime 9 plow routes on the county sections. Stateside, we have 176 lane miles of state, and we are allowed through the DOT to have 11 plow routes for that. 889 lane miles of towns, villages, and cities, which we don't do the winter maintenance for. We've been asked at times to help with that, but mainly it's summer construction. Talking a little bit more about transportation services and our maintenance, county maintenance and construction for towns, cities, and villages. We had $2,608,000 of work performed outside of the fence. This little pie chart, we kind of wanted to highlight on this because shown here is the labor dollars only. It's not our machinery, things like that, but the labor only was 50% was county maintenance and construction, while 38% was state work. So the darker blue there was funded by state operations. The light blue and the pink or the maroon or whichever color you'd say there, those two are half. So it's a big number, and it's kind of nice to see it that way, to see how split it really is and how a lot of things are funding us other than ourselves. In our operations, we have the administrative side, buildings and grounds, material inventory, equipment inventory, shop operations, small tools, radio communications, insurance, fringe benefit, equipment operations, bituminous operations. This is surrounded by the transportation services, and that's the work we perform outside defense, including the state highway of our $2,591,000, I want to say GTA, but that's the wrong number. Our RMA is our road maintenance agreement on the state. The county maintenance and construction of $5,027,000, and our maintenance for municipalities was $1,766,000. These operations are detailed in the financial report. You'll find them in certain pages, a little bit different areas, some of them. Operations are including buildings and grounds, was $258,000. This is distributed to others through a cost pooling, which comes out to be, and how we charge it is on a square footage of our area. Shop operations is $366,929. That's recovered through our equipment operations, and that is on the labor hours. So 95.50% of the labor hours, that gives us our shop operations overhead essentially. And fuel handling rate was $34,863. That's recovered through the fuel handling. Every gallon that's touched and dispensed, it's the $0.2475 per gallon is where that comes from to support that. Okay. The equipment operations, we're a giant cost pool that accumulates all the costs associated with each piece of equipment. Expenses include repairs, labors, fringes, fuel usage, lubricants, repair parts, such as tires, batteries, insurance, shop overhead, and depreciation. The 24 expenses totaled $2,811,937, and that's kind of a large number. That's a big thing in our machinery. It's highlighted there on page 56 in the book. Recovered expenses through revenue generated and logged by our hours of use, multiplied by the state rate for that type of equipment. Our 2024 revenue was $2,729,000. These 2024 figures equate to a loss of $82,258, which will be recovered through highway operations. Now, on the state side, they set the rates for us, so anything we do for the state, those rates have to be charged that way. For our towns, municipalities, we are allowed to charge other or percentage different rates, as Highway Committee discussed at our last meeting. Other operations. The big one is our bituminous operations, which is our plant. So for 2024, we had a $171,000, $873,000 loss. Any gain or loss from these operations go into a cost pool, and they do affect our enterprise funds bottom line. Part of this is that the rates and the things that are happening with inflations are growing way too fast for the state to keep up with. They don't want to inflate their rates too fast, too speedy, so they're not keeping up right now. So as we charge our costs onto our jobs, they're not matching up with replacements. On fringe benefits, another cost pool that the highway operation does, basically takes the cost of all of our employees and provides benefits such as vacation time, vacation and sick times, health insurances, social securities, retirements, safety shoes, and et cetera. Total cost for '24 was $1,985,887. The recovery was $1,901,450. Variance of $84,000 under recovered. So the cost pool we ran was 6.6965 last year, and then this year that just gets a little fluctuation, and so this year we're going to run at a rate of 7.151. And part of that is, for example, when we have retirees and we may pay out a vacation time or sick times, that has to get dumped in there. So we try to plan and anticipate, if we know we're going to have 2 more retirees or the same amount this year from last year, and we had similar payouts, we maybe would have left that fringe the same, but that just sits in roller coasters a little bit to under recover, over recover to keep up. So in summary, equipment operations had a loss of $82,258. Shop operations were about 1.5% higher. This will slightly increase the overhead rate charged for equipment operations. Bituminous operations showed a loss in '24, and this will be recovered in the '25, so we'll increase our material price by a small percentage to make up that difference of the overhead increase. The price of bituminous material recovered the loss at $171,873. We also had an under recovery in our fringe benefit rate, and that is why we increased from the 6.965 to the 7.151. Let's see here. And so our year in review, knowing we were close to using up budget dollars, we cut some of our projects back and shrunk down. The main one was some of the issues we had on the D project kind of forced us in. Last year we shrunk, and then we held off some of the engineering design right-of-way acquisitions, and then these projects were then pushed forward so that we could move on into the next year with those. Let's see here. On the bigger projects, for 2024, the Shea Lane project that we had, This is on the construction side now, came in at 600,000. It was a 873 for 1.8 miles. 677,000 on Double O, which was a 2.06 mile job. Our Blair job on County S down there was 1,038,854. That was 3.5. And then our Double J overlay was 129,000 for 1.3 miles. Looking ahead for 2026, we'd like to continue the maintenance and construction on similar scale as in years past. For us, we have 296 miles of road with 30-year life expectancy is what we're hoping and planning for. So that average would be 9.87 miles a year for 30 years. The maintenance is covered under the general transportation aid and levy. Construction and paving is currently funded through bonding. Over our next 5 years, we'd like to increase our budget maybe 5%-ish each year to recover rising costs, and even with that, we won't meet our goal of 9.87, but we're real close to it, I think, if we kind of can stay within reason. So I won't read all through them, but I've highlighted in here 4.8 million for 26, maybe 27. I'm hoping we can drop off to about 3.8, and that depends on some other fundings and grants if they would come through. Then back up to a little 4.9, 4.8, and 4.2. Looking ahead, we're continuing to review our 5-year construction plan. We look for grants and funding opportunities, such as the LRIP, the CHI, which is the County Highway Improvement Plan, ARIP that's out. It's kind of difficult to get into that, but that's agricultural road improvement, which we have a lot of those areas here, but a lot of it's kind of focused into our townships. Possibly increasing level of service with our townships, cities, and villages. And we continue to support the WCHA and implementation of a financial arm to better understand the unique highway operations. And they've been working some with that, with our CHEMS. The WCHA group and CHEMS is starting to make a joint force. Part of it's for education. Brian Kelly was a Chippewa County Commissioner. He had recently left, so I think right now, and since I've started in 2 years, as the state, the commissioners are just about 50% turnover in the last 2 years. So part of that is so that fiscal side, commissioner side, we all understand, and as the state has things, we work together to move forward. The intention of this was to hopefully help educate the public and our customers and how this department works. And my last slide is just a big thank you. So if there's any questions, I'll put Diane in the hot seat now. No, she spends a lot of time putting this together, and year end gets to be very busy, so. But if there's any questions, maybe we'll just keep moving on to the meeting. If you guys want, shoot us an email, give us a call, whatever, and we can go from there.
I think a good example would be, you talked about inflation, but just what's happened to the price of trucks
Yep.
in the last few years.
Yeah, we,
What's happened?
just at our meeting, we had a discussion about our plow
And
trucks.
also how long it takes to get one.
Right, yeah. Plan this year because you're not getting it for a year and a half kind of situations. Yep.
Neil, could I just ask one question? Well, I hope it's one. I'm curious, how do roads get designated as county roads versus township roads versus highways? That's DOT?
Well, yes, and that's from way, way years and years past. I will give you a little tidbit, is that our double-lettered county roads at one time were a town road that the county had taken over. So maybe it was a through road that at some point we realized that was gonna be maybe a more of a major collector, more of a major route. So then the county maybe obtained it, maybe they built it to a certain standard, but a lot of that happened probably 50s era
Is
or back.
there any value in looking at that? Because I think I heard at one point, sometime earlier this year, that one of the roads that was in probably the worst repair, that was a county road, was also like only 2 houses that were on it. I'm not sure if I remember
It is-
exactly
If you
correctly.
guys saw, remember our Pacer rating, if that got, I think that was on one of our pages. Our number one road is County Double B. That is the lowest rated road we have. There's one house on the top and nobody on the back, and then Quasic Valley comes off of V on the backside.
So does it make sense that that's a county road? And then on the other hand, I know of other roads where businesses have built that have grown in usage that feel like they ought to be county roads but aren't. So
Right.
how does that get evaluated?
And I don't know that anybody tries or attempts to maybe take one over or give one away. Part of it is in funding. The state bases our funding off of mileage. So we necessarily wouldn't want to give up mileage because of what's funded to us for those roads.
But if you gave up something that didn't make sense and gained something that
And
did.
true, and that's, yeah, it's potentially possible. I guess I've never looked into it. So it's possible that I mean, and it has happened in the past. Just, I shouldn't say a long, long time ago, but a number of years ago.
Okay, well, it's something to chew on. Okay.
Could you tell us how many miles of highway or road the townships maintain in the county?
I believe the townships, oh, that was all of them, were 889. So they're, I guess I'm not 100% sure on just townships without plucking the city and village streets out of that. I'm suppose it would be in the mid-high 700s, 700s.
This is pretty significant how much they support.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I think, Dick, isn't town of Arcadia, it's got almost the most town roads lengthwise of any township in the state.
I think in the state, yep,
Yeah.
I think you're correct.
And a comment from that group is they really appreciate that you still have the two-miss operations going because it's such a tight, job. Trying to line up the two-miss, as
Yep.
far as really a challenge. If we didn't have you guys, it'd really be tough getting the township roads done.
Yep.
A couple of town board chairmen have told me to mention that to
Sure.
you guys. And try to look at a vision and keep that going because it's the only competitive blacktop factory we got.
Right, yep, that's true. And I believe in the state, we had a meeting in Barron County on that note. That was, I believe there's 15 counties left with an asphalt plant, and only about 7 or 8 of us that operate at the capacity or above what, we're about a medium-ish one. Sheboygan County's by far the most. They're running 150 to 180,000 tons a year through theirs. We've been averaging in that 45 to 65-ish range for probably the last 10 years. So it is an advantage to us in cost.
For sure.
So,
Any more questions for him?
That was a thorough.
well, I try to keep it short and quick. We might add a couple different pie charts next year or the next one, just to give a few different highlighted areas and things to keep learning on, so.
Yeah, thank you, Neil.
Yep, thank you.
Item D is not here, so we'll go to item E, administrative update.
Yeah, just want a quick, 2 handouts that you have in front of you. The one for signature on talking about the employee handbook and policy manual. After looking through this a bit more, I know a couple of you followed and got that done right away, but we're gonna take a look at that and kind of, no. Well, just keep that and take a look at it, read through it, and then what we're gonna do is just write this up a little bit better so that it flows better to signify the county board supervisors. The second handout is, several of you have asked for a resource to talk about the ethics piece that we went through in the past. And so this is just a draft on what that might look like, and then it would be put together as far as a piece that you would keep, a laminated card type of sheet, a piece. So just take a look at that. If you have comments or suggestions, please get back to me and let me know. So that's just a resource that I'm trying to put together for you for the future. So that's all I have.
Wow, that was great. Should get a hand for that.
It's June, and it's supposed to be short meetings.
Yeah, there we go. Item 6.
In an email?
Actually, Renee Lyon is really good at reading these. Do you want to read that?
She's our closed session person. Reader.
Oh, turn your mic on. Okay.
Okay, I move we go into closed session for discussion and possible action with counsel regarding notice of claim received by and against Trempealeau County. This item will be held in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved.
Motion made and seconded. You want to call the roll?
Bridget Turner,
Yes.
Stacy Klein,
Yes.
Richard Seisha,
Yes.
Lori Severson,
Yes.
Andy Todd,
Yes.
Richard Anderson,
Yes.
Kevin Adams.
Yes.
Dick Miller,
Yes?
Kevin Whalen,
Yes.
John Austin,
Yes.
Don Waldera,
Yes.
Robert Becker,
Yes.
Renee Lyon,
Yes.
Calvin Nelson,
Yes.
David Larson.
Yes.
Jeannie Nutter,
Yes.
Ron Johnson,
Yes.
17-0.
Okay. Okay.
So I'll make a motion that there be no action taken on the discussion made or had in closed session.
All those in favor, second? No, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Okay, we're in open session. Resolutions, Highway Committee.
Okay. Whereas the various towns hereinafter named have filed petitions for county aid for roads under provisions of section 83.14 of the Wisconsin statutes, now be it resolved that said petitions are hereby granted and the county's share appropriated for year 2026 as follows. Town of Albion, Leon Road, a total of $44,452.66. Do you want me to read the local and the county shares as well then?
You could.
Okay. Local was $26,671.60. County share $17,781.06. For the town of Arcadia, Plum Creek, $77,036.92 for total. The local share was $46,222.15. County share was $30,814.77. Irvin's Cooley was $84,000 even for total. The local was $50,400. The county share was $33,600. For Burnside, Mall Cooley, a total of $23,705. The local share was $14,223. County share was $9,482. For town of Caledonia, 11th Street, the total was $52,400.54. The local share was $31,440.33. The county share was $20,960.21. For Chimney Rock, Hawkinson, a total of $20,100.73. Local share was $12,060.44. County share, $8,040.29. For Dodge, Gillespie Road, total of $32,738.78. Local was $19,643.27. County share, $13,095.51. For Ettrick Dop Road, total of $41,351.42. Local was $24,800. County share, $16,551.42. Also for Ettrick Helsted Road, $55,825.24 total. Local share, Helsted, $33,506. County share, $22,319.24. For Town of Gale, McKeith Road, $75,504.83 for total. Local is $45,302.90. County share is $30,201.93. For Town of Hale, Lee Road, total of $35,000.22. Local share $20,000.12. County share $15,000.10. For Lund Road, total of $35,249. Local was $20,249. county share was $15,000. For Daggett, a total of $25,083. Local share was $16,000. County share was $9,083. Osborne Road, total of $25,272.19. Local was $16,113.53. County share $9,158.66. For Town of Lincoln, Schonsberg, total of $38,214.50. Local share was $22,928.70. County share $15,285.80. For Town of Pigeon, Tillman Hans, a total of
Tillman
$64,000.
Hanson, actually.
Cut off, thank you. Total of $64,391.66. Local of $38,635. County share $25,756.66. For Preston, Schonsberg Road, total of $89,436.72. Local share $53,662.03. County share $35,774.69. Town of Sumner, Brown, total of $41,726.35. Local share $25,035.81. County share $16,690.54. For Town of Trempealeau, Schubert was $41,669.57 total. Local is $25,001.75. County share was $16,546.94. Delaney Road was total of $41,367.26. Local was $24,820.32. And the county share was $22,189.36. For Town of Unity, Semmington, a total of $55,473.41. Local was $33,284.05. And the county share was $22,189.36. For totals, grand total of $1 million for the total. Local was $600,000 and the county share was $400,000. Introduced by Trempealeau County Highway Committee, John Austin, Kellen Nelson, Richard Anderson, David Larson, Robert Becker.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Supervisor Nelson, second by Supervisor Nutter. Discussion at all? This is kind of standard, do it every year. I think we were trying to do it last month, but didn't get it done.
They got, yep.
Okay. Call the roll.
John Austin,
Yes.
I do remember.
Don
that.
Waldera,
Yes.
Robert Becker,
Yes.
Renee Lyon,
Oh, she just stepped up.
Kellen Nelson,
Yes.
David Larson,
Yes.
Jeannie Nutter.
Yes.
Ron Johnson. Yes. Bridget Turner,
Yes.
Stacy Klein,
Yes.
Richard Seicha.
Yes.
Lori Severson.
Yes.
Andy Todd.
Yes.
Richard Anderson.
Yes.
Kevin Adams.
Yes.
Dick Miller.
Yes.
Kevin Whalen.
Yes.
Okay.
Item B, also, this is from this is under Highway 2, it's Trempealeau County Highway 8 under Section 8303.
Whereas Section 83.03 subsection 2 of the statutes provides that if any county board shall determine to improve any portion of the county trunk system of prospective state highway with county funds, it may assess not more than 40% of such improvement against the town, village, or city in which the improvement is located, provided the amount of such tax shall not exceed $1,000 in any year. And whereas the county clerk shall certify such tax to the town, village, or city clerk, who shall put same in the tax roll to be collected and paid to the county treasurer in the next year. Now be it resolved that by virtue of the authority granted by Section 83.03 subsection 2, the following improvements be made on the county trunk highway system of prospective state highways. Towns of, and that's all 26 towns, cities, and villages, and all county roads. Local is $1,000. The county matches $1,500 for a total of $26,000 local, $39,000 for the county. Introduced by the Trumbull County Highway Committee, John Austin, Kellen Nelson, Robert Becker, trying to read these names, Richard Anderson, and David Larson.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Becker, seconded by Supervisor Nelson. Any discussion at all? Hearing none, call the roll.
Andy Todd,
Yes.
Richard Anderson,
Yes.
Kevin Adams,
Yes.
Dick Miller,
Yes.
Kevin Whalen,
Yes.
John Austin,
Yes.
Don Moldera,
Yes.
Robert Becker,
Yes.
Renee Lyon,
Yes.
Kellen Nelson,
Yes.
David Larson.
Yes.
Jeannie Nutter,
Yes.
Ron Johnson.
Yes.
Bridget Turner,
Yes.
Stacy Klein,
Yes.
Richard Sasha.
Yes.
Lori Severson.
Yes.
17-0.
Passes. Item B, Executive Finance Committee, County Department overruns.
Whereas the expenditure of funds exceeding those provided in the budgeting process or by resolution of the Trumbull County Board is required through Wisconsin statutes 59.23 parentheses 2 parentheses C and 66.0607 parentheses 7. And whereas the various departments have reviewed their 2024 appropriations and expenditures, and there are overruns in some of the respective accounts. And whereas the following departments were presented to the Executive and Finance Committee showing a need for additional funds in their accounts in 2024. Now be it resolved that the 2024 budget is amended with funds transferred from the county unassigned general fund, account 101.32100, to the following accounts in the amount as noted in the table below. Account 51110, County Board, for the amount of $7,841.74. Account 101-51620, Coroner's Office, $9,155.54. Account 101-51415, the County Clerk, accounting audit for $34,487. Account 101-51420 for County Clerk Office, $12,177.40. Account 101-51430, administration for $108,440.24. 101.51440, county clerk elections, $1,842.38. 101.51450, information technology for $22,254.57 for a total of $196,198.87. Introduced by Executive Finance Committee, David Larson, Bridget Turner, Robert Becker, Richard Sasha, and John Austin.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Supervisor Larson, second by Supervisor Turner. Any questions at all?
Yeah, I got a question.
Okay.
Sorry. So it looks to me like these amounts are just gonna bring us to current, to the current, deficit, it'll bring the current deficit to 0. So what funds are being used for the rest of the year?
This is last year's.
Oh, this is to reconcile for last year already.
Yeah.
24 budget.
Oh, gosh, I am so sorry. Okay, no more questions.
And, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
why is, the majority of this is administration. It is due to some was outside of our control, really. So I just want to make that point.
Okay.
I,
Yes, go ahead.
the county clerk under auditing and accounting, just for our information,
From what I understand, that would be what the accountants charge, the auditors charge from last year, and we're kind of at the mercy of whatever they charge, so we can't.
oh, okay. I thought normally we covered that pretty well with the budget, but I just wondered if there was any particular change from,
Inflation, it went up. Yes.
Mary, I just wonder too, is that when you were doubling up with Paul too, the wages? Would that be in there too, or no? Would that be just,
I don't think,
so you learn, because that was in the fall.
well, the accounting and audit sounds like
It's
the,
accounting, but it's county
but I don't
clerk,
think
so I don't know.
before you got
I
elected.
I'm
think
just
that
asking.
budget was,
Well,
that
before she
budget
actually
last-
started, because
Yeah.
you didn't charge anything for
The
you.
counting audit is all for the auditors.
That's just all
Yep,
auditors?
That's all
That's
auditors,
it?
yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I know when I looked that up from previous year's budget, it had gone up dramatically. And I think in the budgeting process, not knowing that the auditors had increased their costs, that's where the cost overruns ran. And in exec finance, we're tasking them with looking at other auditors to see if we can bring that cost down.
You know, I guess just as a suggestion, perhaps prior to budgeting for next year, if we, whoever we choose to go with, I think if we can get a fairly firm estimate beforehand, because obviously, we didn't anticipate the increase that occurred. And since we are now beginning the budgeting process, might be advantageous to be able to put a little firmer figure, and that would hopefully cover that.
Yes.
How long have we had this accounting for? I agree with Bridget. It doesn't hurt to every 5-7 years to change or advertise it out. It's a lot of work.
So I think, that was twofold in our meeting, so.
Because speaking from experience, that you get an accounting firm and they sell you a program that'll speed up your audit for next year, and then they just bring another auditor with them, and they always go over budget. So, I mean, I think it's something we should look into. I agree with what Bridget said, so.
And I know the elections was definitely because of all the excessive ballots that they had to print for the election. And the cost of printing has increased dramatically too.
I think that's a good idea to probably change. I think we have different audit firms. I know we got a different audit firm for the highway department. I think the county hospital's got a different audit firm, 3 different audit firms for the county. And anyway, ready for the roll call.
I got a
Yeah.
quick question. On administration, $108,000 we're looking for. What created that? What caused that? Huh? Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Dawn Waldera,
Yes.
Robert Becker,
Yes.
Renee Lyon,
Yes.
Kellen Nelson,
Yes.
David Larson.
Yes.
Jeannie Nutter.
Yes.
Ron Johnson.
Yes.
Bridget Turner,
Yes,
Stacy Klein,
Yes.
Richard Sasha.
Yes.
Lori Severson.
yes.
Andy Todd,
Yes.
Richard Anderson,
Yes.
Kevin Adams,
Yes.
Dick Miller,
Yes?
Kevin Whalen,
Yes.
John Austin,
Yes.
17-0.
Okay, marriage license fee increase.
Whereas the fee for a marriage license in Trempealeau County has been $60 since 2004, and whereas Wisconsin statute 765.15 gives the county board authority to increase the marriage license fee at any time, and whereas the surrounding counties' fees range from $75 to $100 per license, with some counties charging $125. And whereas there has been a steady increase in the work performed, causing some marriage applications to take longer to process. Whereas to reflect the current rate and to consider the staff time when processing marriage licenses is appropriate to raise the current fee. Now be it resolved that the fee for marriage license in Trumbull County be raised from $60 to $100 effective July 1, 2025. Introduced by Exec Finance Committee, David Larson, Bridget Turner, Robert Becker, Richard Sasha, John Austin.
Move to approve.
Motion by Supervisor Nutter. Second by Supervisor Johnson. Any discussion on it at all?
How
Call the
often,
roll.
is there a way to get this on an agenda so that it like gets reviewed annually or biannually, so it doesn't go quite so long with such a big jump?
I know we've had La Crosse County people coming in here because ours is cheaper. you know.
Right.
So they spend a lot of time doing it.
Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
So down the line, and some of this will take some time, but as you're aware, we had a health department that merged with our human services department. That has then triggered some additional needs, including changes or amendments to our current ordinance, which is in the works, just so you're aware of it. In addition to that, that process has triggered the need for a fee ordinance. So we need a revision to our citation ordinance as well as that. It will take some time to get there, but hopefully once we get there, we'll start going on a regular schedule. So it's gonna take some time though.
That is just fine, thank you.
See no other questions, call the roll.
Richard Seisha.
Yes.
Lori Severson.
Yes.
Andy Todd.
Yes.
Richard Anderson.
Yes.
Kevin Adams.
Yes.
Dick Miller.
Yes?
Kevin Whalen.
Yes.
John Austin.
Yes.
Don Waldera.
Yes.
Robert Becker.
Yes.
Renee Lyon.
Yes.
Kellen Nelson.
Yes.
David Larson.
Yes.
Jeannie Nutter.
Yes.
Ron Johnson.
Yes.
Bridget Turner.
Yes.
Stacy Klein.
Yes.
17-0.
Okay, Local Emergency Planning Committee adopting Trumpealeau County Hazard Mitigation Plan for 2024 to 28.
Whereas per 44 CFR Statute 201.3 parentheses D, local governments are to prepare and adopt a jurisdiction-wide natural hazard mitigation plan as the condition of receiving project grant funds under the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And whereas per Trempealeau County ordinances 16.01 parentheses 8 parentheses A, the emergency operation plan shall contain an analysis of the risks faced by the county. And whereas Trempealeau County recognizes the threat that natural hazards pose to people and property, and that undertaking hazard mitigation planning before disasters occur will reduce the potential for harm to people and property and save taxpayer dollars. And whereas an adopted hazard mitigation plan is required as a condition of future grant funding for mitigation projects. And whereas Trempealeau County participated jointly in the planning process with other local units of government within Trempealeau County, and a multi-hazards mitigation plan was prepared. And whereas the adoption of the Trempealeau County multi-hazards plan by Trempealeau County demonstrates its public commitment to hazard mitigation and to achieving those goals outlined therein. Now therefore be it resolved that Trempealeau County hereby adopts the Trempealeau County Hazards Mitigation Plan 2024 through 2028 as its official plan, and be it further resolved that changes occurring after its adoption will not require Trempealeau County to readopt any further iterations of the specific plan. Introduced by Bo Tibbetts, Emergency Management Coordinator, Local Emergency Planning Committee, Ron Johnson, Andy Todd, Don Waldera.
Move to approve. I guess I'll second.
I'll go with Waldera for the, Supervisor Waldera for the motion.
I know where I stand.
I think you've got enough first places anyway, so. All right. Let's call the roll.
Kevin Whalen,
Yes.
John Austin,
Yes.
Don Waldera,
Yes.
Robert Becker.
Yes.
Renee Lyon.
Yes.
Kellen Nelson.
Yes.
David Larson.
Yes.
Jeannie Nutter.
Yes.
Ron Johnson.
Yes.
Bridget Turner.
Yes.
Stacy Klein.
Yes.
Richard Seisha.
Yes.
Lori Severson.
Yes.
Andy Todd.
Yes.
Richard Anderson.
Yes.
Kevin Adams.
Yes.
Dick Miller.
Yes.
17-0.
Okay, Environmental Land Use Committee, request for Wisconsin stakeholder forum on solar energy projects and related matters.
Whereas Wisconsin communities have seen an increased solar energy presence since 2000. Whereas since that time, various Wisconsin communities, including those in Trempealeau County, have also expressed concerns about both large and small-scale solar energy projects. While not speaking to their correctness, those concerns have included, but are not limited to, a reduced water quality, reduced or destroyed wildlife and habitat loss, a reduction in tourism and related economic opportunities, and the inability and/or unavailability of local emergency services and systems to address solar energy emergent needs. Whereas Wisconsin law removes most local ability to regulate many solar energy projects, often leaving the local concerns largely unaddressed except through specific party negotiations and contractual agreements. with the latter failing to provide a meaningful opportunity to address such concerns more broadly throughout the state. Whereas while there has been multiple recent legislative attempts to modify current and applicable solar energy law, there has been no known stakeholder summits, task forces, or legislative study committees created or held to review the wide variety of issues that involve solar energy projects in Wisconsin. And whereas there is a need for a variety of stakeholders, including Wisconsin counties like Trempealeau County, to be able to meet, review, study, and discuss those issues and concerns with the desire that such a forum may assist in informing future legislative decisions on solar energy projects for the benefit of all of Wisconsin. Now therefore be it resolved that the Trempealeau County Board of Supervisors requests that a multi-stakeholder forum, specifically including local counties and municipalities, be created and held, whether through summit, task force, or study committee, to review and discuss solar energy projects and their related issues across Wisconsin. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be provided to our state senators and assembly representatives, the Wisconsin Counties Association, and others as deemed appropriate by the county clerk. Introduced by Environment and Land Use Committee, Callan Nelson, David Larson, Randy Severson, Andy Todd, Kevin Whalen, Stacy Klein.
Move to approve. Motion by Supervisor Nelson,
Second.
second by Supervisor Whalen. Any discussion?
I just have a question
Yes.
for clarity. So is this is going to our state reps to ask that the state develop some sort of task force?
That allows local people to have discussions with them.
Okay, so it's like the sand mine days.
Right, yeah.
Let's review of the process.
It is. It's more of a holistic approach.
Okay.
It could include that, but it could include more. There has been, so much discussion that comes to the counties, and as you know, there was a study committee here, but there's only so much that counties can do, one
Right.
way or another. Whether that's through the JDA process or whether, it's through the PSC, whatever it might be, we're limited. And so this is to ask that something else, another forum be created and something more to be considered.
So asking for direction from the state to intervene in how you even just having these discussions.
Exactly, to create some sort of forum, and it's gonna be up to the legislators to decide. They may take it up, they may not, but this is asking for an opportunity to discuss this
Okay.
further.
I get it.
Okay. Motion to approve? Or did we
Already
get
We
that
already
already?
had, moved by Callan, second by Whalen.
Okay, yes, we're in good shape. Go ahead, call the roll.
Lori Severson,
Yes.
Andy Todd,
Yes.
Richard Anderson.
Yes.
Kevin Adams.
Yes.
Dick Miller,
Yes.
Kevin Whalen,
Yes.
John Austin,
Yes.
Don Waldera,
Yes.
Robert Becker,
Yes.
Renee Lyon,
Yes.
Callan Nelson,
Yes.
David Larson,
Yes.
Jeannie Nutter,
Yes.
Ron Johnson,
Yes.
Bridget Turner,
Yes.
Stacy Klein,
Yes.
Richard Sasha.
Yes.
17-0.
Okay, audit committee, members' claims.
Whereas the audit committee has audited the following claims and recommend that they be allowed as follows. John Austin, $814.90. Kevin Adams, $130. Richard Anderson, $227.60. Robert Becker, $344.80. Ron Johnson, 0. Stacy Klein, $236.80. David Larson, $132.20. Renee Lyon, $200. Dick Miller, $244.80. Callan Nelson, $516.64. Jeannie Nutter, 0. Richard Sasha, $309.20. Lori Severson, 0. Andy Todd, $267.60. Bridget Turner, 0. Don Waldera, $109.80. Kevin Whalen, $192. For a total per diem of $3,150. Total expenses, $576.34, for a grand total of $3,726.34. Now be it resolved that the claims be allowed as shown. Introduced by Audit Committee, John Austin, Renee Lyon, Kellen Nelson.
Move to approve.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Motion by Supervisor Johnson, second by Supervisor Turner. Call the roll.
Richard Anderson,
Yes.
Kevin Adams,
Yes.
Dick Miller,
Yes.
Kevin Whalen,
Yes.
John Austin,
Yes.
Don Waldera,
Yes.
Robert Becker,
Yes.
Renee Lyon,
Yes.
Kellen Nelson,
Yes.
David Larson.
Yes.
Jeannie Nutter,
Yes.
Ron Johnson.
Yes.
Bridget Turner,
Yes.
Stacy Klein,
Yes.
Richard Sasha,
Yes.
Lori Severson.
Yes.
Andy Todd.
Yes.
17-0.
Announcements, appointments, and elections. You have appointments?
Do an appointment from ELU Committee to Board of Adjustment, Terrence Coxleen for a 3-year term, and appointment from the Human Services and Health Department Board to ADRC Advisory Council, George Brandt for a 3-year term. I'd appreciate a motion to approve those.
I move to approve both.
Both. Approve them both in one session. Supervisor Nutter,
Yes, sir.
motion, and Supervisor Johnson, second. Any questions at all? Okay, call the roll. We could probably do a voice vote on that, yeah, just a voice vote on the approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Committee reports. Executive Finance, you got those in your packet. Correspondence, did you have any correspondence?
No correspondence.
I didn't have any. A motion to instruct the clerk to pay mileage and per diem.
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Turner, second by Supervisor Sasha. Call the roll.
David Larson,
Yes.
Jeannie Nutter,
Yes.
Ron Johnson,
Yes.
Bridget Turner,
Yes.
Stacy Klein,
Yes.
Richard Sasha,
Yes.
Lori Severson.
Yes.
Andy Todd,
Yes.
Richard Anderson.
Yes.
Kevin Adams,
Yes.
Dick Miller,
Yes.
Kevin Whalen,
Yes.
John Austin,
Yes.
Don Waldera,
Yes.
Robert Becker.
Yes.
Renee Lyon.
Yes.
Kellen Nelson.
Yes. That concludes the items on the agenda. Next meeting is scheduled for January 21st, or July 21st.
Mr. Chair,
July 21st at 7 p.m.
did you clump them?
Yeah,
John,
yes.
I just wanted to point out to everybody here, I was gonna do it in correspondence, but you skipped over that so fast. I'd like to acknowledge our TV station here was down to the Wisconsin Community Media event, and they received 8 awards, and 3 of them were in excellence, which is like the gold standard. So just, I thought they should get the recognition they deserve. They work hard. And then the people who donate their time too, I want to say thank you for doing that. And we keep that in mind next, when it comes to budget time. Right, Becky?
Okay, thank you. So we can adjourn at 8:37.